Go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
All right.
Further instructions, Minnesota Black Room Regiment.
Folks, here we are.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Room Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Room Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
All right, folks, here we are. It's Sunday afternoon, November 16th. I appreciate everybody tuning in from wherever you might be tuning in from. I want to do this. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my channel members. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being consistent, being regular. Shout out to my subscribers. Really appreciate that. I'm always looking for more. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, but you watch the content, please subscribe now. It's doesn't cost you anything. There's no drawbacks to it. You hit the subscribe button, then you hit that little bell icon, and that bell icon will send you notifications when I go live, or when I have shorts drop, or when I have new videos come up. If you are a regular viewer and a subscriber and you haven't become a channel member yet, please do so. I really appreciate it. Support is very helpful. Everything that I do is done gratis. I don't ask for the people whose stories I cover. I don't ask them for anything other than their assistance in putting their stories together. I've never taken money to cover a story. I won't do that. People donate to the channel through, super chats, which are always, much appreciated. If you have questions, super chats help me see those and get those out there. But everything that I do on my own, and my channel memberships help me be able to pay for that, equipment upgrades, software upgrades, all of that. So I would very much appreciate it if you guys would pick some a channel member slot. I'm looking for more show producers. Now, that being said, I'm going to get into the story of why we're here today, and I hope that you guys will pay attention to everything I'm going to say on the front end of this. There is body cam video that we're going to start watching. I have nearly an hour's worth of body cam video from one officer in this situation alone. That doesn't count the chief of police. But right now we're going to get into the the body cam video of a St. Charles, Minnesota police officer as he facilitates a Winona County social worker by the name of Audra. I don't know exactly how she says her name. He facilitates her in colluding together to medically kidnap Hayven. So we're going to lay out a timeline, and we're going to start the story. We're not going to watch the entire video today. We're not going to do that, because there's so much to it that requires so much breaking down. But what we need to do first is we need to go over the timeline. So the video that we're going to watch is body cam video that's captured from July 30th of 2025. So just a few months ago. It involves grandmother, mother, and father of baby Hayven. So baby Hayven was, she had some in utero developmental issues, growth issues, health issues. And she also was born with a cleft palate, and she's had some other issues. And so her family, her grandmother, her father, and her mother have all been on top of taking care of her, getting her to baby well checks, getting her to appointments, seeing doctors that they need to see. They've been very attentive because you know what? That's what families do. Families love their kids, they love their grandkids, and they take care of them. It's what they do, right? Hayven was born on May 25th. She left the hospital. She was born on May 21st of 2025, and she left the hospital on May 24th of 2025. And she had subsequent appointments that her parents took her to. On July 24th, she went to Olmsted Medical Center and had shots. On July 25th, the social worker, Laren, at Olmsted Medical Center filed a neglect report. Now, I don't want you guys to hear that and think, oh my gosh, neglect. I just hear this. This is what this Laren filed this report on July 25th. The report wasn't forwarded to the Winona County social workers or the St. Charles Police Department until the 28th of July. So 3 days later. So then, not 3 days. Yeah. 3 days after the report was filed. On the 28th of July, Mom and Dad and Grandma took baby Hayven to Mayo Clinic, where she was weighed. All this was independent of the report. They didn't know anything about this report yet. She was weighed at Mayo Clinic, but she wasn't seen by a doctor. It wasn't until the following day, the 29th, where a doctor from Mayo Clinic called the parents and said she was concerned that Hayven was not gaining weight and the parents were not following the proper feeding schedule. So May 20 or July 24th, shots at Olmsted Medical Center. July 25th, social worker from Olmsted Medical Center files a report. Report's not forwarded until 3 days later on the 28th, while Hayven's being seen for weight, but sees no doctor. Doctor hasn't seen her, but files a complaint with the parents that the baby's not well. On July 30th, Audra Bauer, along with the St. Charles police officer and another social worker, show up at the family's home. This is all incredibly important. We're going to get into the dash cam now. And as we get into the dash cam, I want you guys to remember that what you're going to see at the very beginning here is an officer. When they turn their body cam on, body cams are buffering because they're constantly recording video, right? This is a body cam video from St. Charles Police Officer Robbie Florek. He spells it Floerke. Robbie Florek from the St. Charles, Minnesota Police Department. Their body cams are constantly recording video, but when you actually activate it to record, it takes a while for the audio to kick in. So we're going to start watching this, and we're going to see that he's engaged in a very intense conversation. Not intense like they're arguing, but he's clearly engaged in a very important conversation with social workers. Very important conversation. And as we go through this series, there's going to be multiple breakdown videos that I'm going to be doing of this. And then I'm also going to be releasing, without commentary, just the videos. And then I'm going to be going through and I'm going to be weaving the videos together, minus commentary, where we're running Robbie's video along with the chief of police's video, where we're going to be cutting them and splicing them together to get a consistent timeline. So this is going to be a multi-part series. So this is just the introduction. So you guys have this now. I just wanted to be clear that the social worker at the Olmsted Medical Center filed a concerning report that did not get forwarded to St. Charles PD and the Winona County social worker's office until the 28th of July. So 3 days. And it was 2 days after that they finally showed up. This is very important. Very important. And you need to understand that. So we're going to start this video. And then you're going to also understand that this is not an emergent situation. Because if this was emergent, the second that they got this report, they would have shown up at this house. So this is not an exigent circumstances situation. It's very important. But this has also given them time to collude. But they didn't do it the right way. And now, when we watch, too, I want you to understand that the person who answers the door is grandmother. Social worker shows up at your house unannounced. Social worker shows up with another social worker and a cop at your house unannounced. At this point, when they're at your door, this is what's considered with any government entity, any government employee, it's considered a consensual conversation. Government employees have the same rights as everybody else. They can come up, they can knock on your door, and they can, on the curtilage of your property, and they can say, hey, can we have a conversation? And you can engage in that conversation as long as you want, for as short a time as you want, for as long as you want. You're not obligated to talk, but you're not obligated to not talk. So for those of you that want to watch this and say, why would you talk? The vast majority of people out there, including grandma in this situation, they're not thinking about this the way that, people who had developed a back the blue until it happens to you mentality think. Most people trust the government. Most people, rightly or wrongly, whether grandma should have trusted the government or not, doesn't matter. What matters in this situation is most people do trust the government. We've been conditioned as a society, we've been conditioned to trust the government. When they show up at your house, what could possibly go wrong? Right? They can't possibly be here to hem me up on something. It's very important that we understand this. You have to ask yourself, apart from watching my channel and other people's channels, what would you do if the cop showed up at your house? If it was just you on a given day and law enforcement or social workers showed up at your house, how would you respond? Would you let them in? Would you run the risk of seeming like an asshole and not want to let them in? Because that's what we've been conditioned to believe. We've been conditioned to believe that if we don't let cops in, then we're jerks or we've got something to hide. If you don't let a social worker in, what can I do? Can I say no? Can I say no to a social worker that comes to my door? Can I say no to a cop when he comes to the door and wants to come in? Yeah, you can, but would you know that apart from studying these issues? Would you know that apart from having gone through these on your own? And that's, once again, why I've been really pushing the phrase back the blue until it happens to you. And that applies to any level of the state, any level of government. It's very important that this social worker, Audra or Audrey or whatever her name is, showed up with a cop in tow. Very important. You have to understand how important this is. And also, as part of that, I want you to understand, too, that you're going to hear some frustration in grandmother's voice. You're going to hear some anger and frustration in grandmother's voice. Now, part of you is going to want to react in the gut with, wow, why are you being rude? I want to start off with, one, it's not rude to be angry when the government shows up at your house and starts making demands. Two, I want you to really focus on who starts off with the rudeness. who starts off with giving commands, who starts off by violating public trust, by being a jerk. It's not grandma. It's not grandma at all. So now we're going to get into the dash or the body cam. And if you don't hear anything right away, just once again, remember buffering is going on. But it's very important that we play that buffering out. And here we go. Once again, note they are clearly conversing here. This is the other social worker that you're seeing. Audio is going to start kicking in here. So this is the consensual part here. Once again, you're going to have to bear with me with the buffering. I don't know what's going on. This is Heidi. She's knocking on the door. Once again, knocking. Knocking's fine. Knocking's fine. Allowed to do it. Just like the Girl Scouts going door to door to sell cookies, or somebody else showing up at your house to, to talk. Knock and talk is fine. There's nothing wrong with them showing up here and knocking on that door. And before you get real quick to judge what happens next, just remember, if it wasn't for the experiences that you've had or the channels that you watch on YouTube or anywhere else with auditors and constitutional liberty-minded people who understand these things, what would your normal response be in this situation?
Hi.
Once again, like I said, please, I don't know why it's buffering the way it is today.
I need to talk to Hayven, please. In regards to... we have a report with concerns about the baby.
And she says here, we have a report with concerns about the baby. And Kaylin is the mom. Now she's asking permission to come in. She's just asked for permission to come in here. So, and she's introducing this other social worker.
What county are you through? Winona. I'm Audrey. Have you ever? Yeah. Okay. Can I come in? Yeah. Okay. Can Triton come in? Yeah.
Now, she's asked, can Triton come in? Can I come in? And Grandma has said yes. Once again, this is a consensual situation. Audra has not expressed, Audrey, whatever, has not expressed anything other than when we have had some concerns about the baby. Now, remember the timeline that we broke down here. The timeline is report was filed on the 25th. Social workers received this on the 28th. St. Charles PD received this on the 28th. They didn't show up until the 30th. So we have no exigent circumstances here. None. There's no reason for them to think that they should be able to just walk in, and that's why she asked if they could come in. And Grandma Heidi has granted permission for them to come in. Now, this can be rescinded at any time, and this will be very important as this series plays out. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to St. Charles PD officer here. I'm not giving him props, but I am pointing out something that he acknowledged. He acknowledges this right here, and this is what shoots him in the foot. And this is, once again, ask yourself, if you're grandma in this situation, what would you do? What would your response be? How would you respond in this situation? Because listen to what the officer does here.
So we were just there yesterday, and we've been waiting baby at home.
Notice how he's waiting. He knows he's at this threshold of this house. He stops. He stops, but it doesn't really prevent him from doing what he ends up doing. He knows he needs something to come into this house. It's kind of like a vampire, folks. In these situations, cops are like vampires. They need your permission to enter, and well, just listen.
I'm going to tell you this.
You mind if I step in, Heidi?
He says, do you mind if
I step in? Yeah.
Note how he steps in without her initial response. He actually comes across that door. He said, do you mind if I step in? And then he stepped in and asked again before Heidi had a chance to say yes or no. So we've got two things going on here. We've got two very important things. One, he knows and recognizes that he needed to ask permission to come into this house. But then he comes in anyway, and then Heidi gives him permission. So what we're dealing with here, quite frankly, once again, I'm not throwing shade at Heidi. Put yourself in her shoes. What would you do? Do you have any reason at this moment, at 8:54 in the morning on July 30th, they show up at your house unexpected? Are you going to put yourself in a position where you're getting into it with a cop right now about whether or not he can come through the door? Or are you already off kilter? Because I'm going to tell you, when you listen to Heidi, she's trying to explain, like, look, we understand there's some things going on here, but this is what's really been happening. And we have our concerns about the baby and how the baby's being treated. We love Hayven, and we want to make sure she's well taken care of. So she's already off kilter. The cop's at her door, just walks in and goes, oh, hey, do you mind if I come in? What are you going to say? Not 98% of people are not going to say, oh, no, get your ass out of my house, pig. 98% aren't. Do this to me, we're going to be having a different conversation. But you cannot hold this against a person who, like the rest of us, was conditioned to comply with people in positions of authority. And that's why this is just going to be an introductory video, by the way, because breaking this down, breaking this down is going to take hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And we also know that the vast majority of people do not have the attention span, should we say, to do an hours-long breakdown. That's why in the coming days, we're going to be just putting the video up for people to watch. And we'll be doing breakdowns as we move forward. Here we go again with Robbie's video.
Sorry. Quick guy in my room.
Come on, I know you're into my mother.
Kayla has C6. Chromosome duplication. So she's tiny. Baby's been on the small side. So when we took her to the Winona County Lick office after we were released from the hospital, her weight was 5 pounds, 5 ounces, and she was 18 inches long. Babies don't shrink.
Just as a side note, I tell everybody this: your baby's not long, your baby's tall. Fish are long, people are tall. I said this about my kids. People are like, how long is your baby? Well, my baby's not a trout. So, light side, this is literally just being said for fun, just on the light side. People are tall, fish are long. But listen to what she says here is like, babies don't shrink.
So here's where we're at. I need to talk to Kaylin. Okay, since she's mom. Okay.
This is Audra right here, and she's saying, I need to talk to Kaylin since she's mom. Now, is she wrong? No, she's not wrong. Kaylin is mom. Kaylin is an adult. Kaylin has every, Audra has every reasonable expectation that she needs to talk to mom. Totally understand. But you're also dealing with a family that lives in a home together. It's not like grandma's not involved in the day-to-day life of this baby. Grandma is intimately involved in the day-to-day life of Hayven. Mom is intimately involved in the day-to-day life of Hayven. This is a family literally doing what families are supposed to do, and that is take care of their child. It's not like Kaylin is raising this baby in the back of this house on her own, and grandma doesn't know what's going on. And I also want to tell people too that grandma has been both an adoptive parent and a foster parent. She has been through the system. She knows what is needed to take care of children. She has jumped through all of the legal framework that one has to jump through to be able to take care of other people's children and adopt other people's children. So we're not dealing with a house where, baby's just being left to lay in, its own mess and people don't know how to care for children. So Audra is not wrong in that she wants to talk to Kaylin. What's wrong is how she treats people. And that, folks, is the problem. She's not a pleasant person. And she needs to be reminded that she's a public servant. Because she seems to have forgotten that she serves the public. I don't like her attitude. I had another friend screen this video, and he pointed out that she is an ever-loving witch. And I will not use the other words that he used to describe her.
So where we're at right now, though, is
You want to go get Dad?
yeah.
Very good move on Heidi's part. Go get Dad. Let's get Dad. Let's get Dad involved here. Because if you want to talk about the baby, let's get the whole family. So that was a very good move on Heidi's part.
Sorry, just because she's mom. I have
No,
to talk
that's
with her.
fine.
Okay.
But you're not going to listen just like they won't listen. This is what we're switching. So, baby had problems in utero gaining weight. It has nothing to do with the cleft. So, we're just done dealing with it because yesterday they switched up again. So, every time we've gone there, they weighed her differently.
So, Kaylin, where we're at right now is this isn't about, sorry, this isn't about being small. This is about concerns about not following recommendations and not gaining weight. So
that's very important. Let's go back and listen to that. What she says the concerns are here. Remember, we live in a free country, folks. We do. We live in a free country. So let's say that Audra's argument here is, and I don't know whether or not the family is receiving any kind of public assistance. That doesn't matter to me. I really don't know. It literally does not matter to me whether or not they are. Even if they are, does that give them, the county, does that give the county the right to determine how you raise your child? Does the county have, if you're getting any kind of assistance from the county, from government entities, do they get to say, we're going to give you recommendations, and if you don't follow them, then we're going to involve ourselves in your lives? And keep in mind, we are here 5 days after the report was filed. 5 freaking days after the report was filed. 2 days after they received the initially filed report. Where's the emergent circumstances here, Audra? If this was such a concerning thing for you, why did it take you 2 days to get out to the house? Why did it take 2 days for you to get out there? If you were that concerned, wouldn't you have shown up on the 28th when you got the report? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Especially since the information we have says that you and the St. Charles PD got the report at the same time. So tell me I'm wrong. Where is the emergent circumstance here? There isn't one.
Small. This is about concerns about not following recommendations and not gaining weight. So she can be small, but she's not. So we have the weights from the last 3 weeks, and her weight has stayed the same for the last, I think it's 2 weeks.
No, it hasn't.
It has, Heidi.
No,
so
it
I need
hasn't.
you to stop interrupting.
Listen, lady, you don't come into anybody's house and you stop and start telling them what they can and cannot do. Listen, bitch, you don't walk into somebody else's house with a cop behind you or without a cop behind you and tell them whether or not they can talk. Once again, watch her.
From the last 3 weeks, and her weight has stayed the same for the last, I think it's 2 weeks.
No, it hasn't.
It has, Heidi.
No,
so
it
I need you to
hasn't.
stop interrupting and let me talk.
I was actually the one that laid her.
Okay, Kaylin, or Heidi, I need you to let me talk.
Do you have a warrant?
That's very key. Heidi asks right here, and she's very astute on her part to finally ask. And once again, you could critique her all day long about having let them into the house, but what does she ask here? Just go back and listen very closely.
No, it hasn't.
It has, Heidi.
No,
so
it
I need you to
hasn't.
stop interrupting and let me talk.
I was actually the one that laid her.
Okay, Kaylin, or Heidi, I need you to let me talk.
Do you have a warrant?
Do you have a warrant? She asks right here, do you have a warrant? Do you have a warrant? How much more do you need? And she's about to admit that she doesn't have a warrant. But listen to what her excuse is. What she does have.
So here's
Do you have a warrant?
Heidi.
Do you have a warrant, Audrey?
We're under medical advice. And
Now the cop, Robbie, breaks in. Heidi, we're under medical advice. That's not a warrant, you tyranted, your badge tyrant. Medical advice doesn't give you permission to come to this house and do what you're about to do. Listen
Kaylin, the one that laid her.
Okay, Kaylin, or Heidi, I need you to let me talk.
Do you have a warrant?
So here's
Do you have a warrant?
Heidi.
Do you have a warrant, Audrey?
we're under medical advice.
I
And
have a doctor saying that she
Dr.
needs to
Hofer,
be,
who is no
that
longer
needs
her
to be
doctor.
an
I have a doctor saying, doctors have no authority. None. Absolutely none. Doctors don't get to give you permission to bypass people's right to be free of unreasonable searches and seizures. Doctors don't have the authority to tell cops or anybody else that works for government, works for we the people, really, that you could just bypass all of that. And we know that this isn't exigent because they had a minimum of 2 days, folks. They had a minimum of 2 days if they really thought that this was that important to get a warrant, and they didn't get it. They didn't show up on July 28th with a warrant in hand. They didn't show up on July 28th without a warrant based on exigency for concern for baby Hayven. They didn't. They waited 2 days from the time that they got the notification. 2 freaking days from the time they got the notification. They know that this is not an emergent situation. They know for a fact that this baby is not in danger of losing life and passing on to the other side. They know that. But Audrey busts out, we've got a note from the doctor that says, no, I don't care what your note from the doctor says. The doctor doesn't have the authority to give you the permission to do any of this stuff. And as we break this down further, we're going to find out some very key things in the upcoming episodes. So we're going to let this play out a little bit longer. So once again,
Warrant.
So here's
Do
the
you have a
thing,
warrant? Do
Heidi.
you have a warrant, Audrey?
We're under medical advice,
I
and
have a doctor saying that she
Dr.
needs to
Clover,
be,
who is no
that
longer
needs
her
to
doctor,
be immediately admitted to the hospital.
and we refuse to take her.
sorry, I took a drink. Needs to be, you have a doctor's note that says baby needs to be immediately admitted to the hospital. Is that exigent? Is that exigent? Does that give you the right to bypass a warrant process? If it does give you the right to bypass a warrants process, why didn't you show up with an ambulance in tow? Because there's no ambulance here yet. And in the upcoming episodes, we're going to show you just how emergent this situation was. Because eventually an ambulance does show up. Eventually EMTs do show up. And what the EMTs find doesn't at all relate to what Audrey here is claiming. She's basing all of this on a note from a doctor. A note for a doctor is literally worth less than a dollar bill. And as bad as a dollar bill is today, is little, because a dollar bill is worth nothing, right? You all know my position on fiat currency. But this note from this doctor is worth nothing. It means nothing, especially when you take into consideration that it took him 2 days to show up to the house.
Then she's going to be placed under a hold by law enforcement, and she's going to be taken into custody and will file a CHIPS.
Listen to this. Did you hear that? If you don't do what we say, she's going to be taken into custody by law enforcement. This was all worked out ahead of time, folks. They colluded. This was all worked out ahead of time. They were conspiring against this family. That statement from Audrey alone is enough to prove the conspiracy against this family. That statement from Audrey alone is enough to prove a conspiracy to kidnap this child medically. But if you don't believe me, listen.
To be immediately admitted to the hospital.
And we refuse to take her to Maine.
Then she's going to be placed under a hold by law enforcement, and she's going to be taken into custody and will file a CHIPS. So let me talk, and let me get through this, and let me talk to the mother of the child.
This woman is absolutely, she is a tyrant. And I could guarantee to you that had she not had that cop standing there directly behind her for this, she wouldn't have been this bold. She wouldn't have shown up at this house. She brought this cop. She brought Officer Robbie Florek, or Erky, or whatever his name is. I have no respect for him. And I will be meeting St. Charles PD in the near future. Not sure which day or when, but I will be meeting them, and we're going to be having conversations. I'm going to have a conversation with the chief. I'm going to make sure that I have a conversation with the chief in person. No, that's not a threat. That's just me stating I am going to seek out the chief for comment on this story. His officer conspired with the social worker with no proof that there was anything wrong with baby Hayven other than a doctor's note. They had already worked out what they were going to do. Is this common practice for your police department chief? Officer Robbie? Who do you think you are? Are you a medical professional? And even if you have kids, are you medically proficient enough to be able to tell whether or not this child is in danger? Because we learn of it, like I said, a little bit from the EMTs. The EMTs share a different story.
So she was weighed yesterday, and there's a concern that she's still not being, she's the same weight as she has been, okay? And I have the records from both medical facilities that show what her weight has been. I have the records that show what all of the recommendations have been.
I have all of the records that show what the recommendations have been. Recommendations are just that. They're just recommendations. Are recommendations legally binding? And we need to ask ourselves a question. And this, again, I'm not throwing shade at Caden and Kaylin and Heidi. I want people to understand I am not throwing shade at these people. What? Let me just throw this out here. If Heidi and her family were upper crust people, and when I mean upper crust, I don't mean that they have bad reputations, but let's just say that their income level was what if their income level was $500,000 a year or more? Would Audrey and Tristan and Officer Robbie, would they be at this house? Would they be at this home? My grandparents lived in a prefab home. You know, some people would call them mobile homes. This house appears to have the appearance of a prefab mobile home, right? If this house looked like it had been custom built and was occupied by people that were making $500,000 or maybe $250,000 a year or more, would social services be at this house? Would baby Hayven be on the cusp of being seized from this young couple and grandma? Would Audrey be telling Heidi to shut up and not talk in her own home? Would they have shown up without a warrant? Not only would they not have not shown up without a warrant, they wouldn't be here at all because the doctor wouldn't have filed this complaint. See, what I'm going to tell you is that the social worker in this situation, Audrey, has a preconceived notion that this family somehow is more dangerous to this baby than a family that makes millions of dollars a year. And she has an axe to grind with Heidi. And in future videos, you will hear that work out. You will hear that work out in future videos. That she has a preconceived notion. She has presuppositions about Heidi. And I know we can't see it real well, but if you could see the anguish in Heidi's demeanor right now. These people don't give a damn about the stress that they're causing this family. They don't care about whether or not what they're doing is best for Hayven. They care about whether or not there's something in it for someone else. You don't have to agree with me. But just disagreeing with me makes you wrong. Over and over and over and over and over again. I have watched friends of mine like Spike Cohen and others cover medical kidnapping stories. And without fail, across the entire Republic of the United States, every one of these situations involve people who do not have the means and the wherewithal to fight the system. Because when you enter into situations like what we're dealing with here, you aren't automatically entitled to an attorney. You can have an attorney, and you should have an attorney, but you're not medically entitled to an attorney. Or legally entitled to an attorney. In other words, the courts aren't obligated to go out and order some public defender to come in and take your case. The courts aren't obligated to even get involved in whether or not you have an attorney. The courts are obligated to one thing and one thing only. And that's working within the confines of the system. And the system always errs on the side of the government. In other words, the system errs on the side of the system. We're going to let this play just a little bit more, and I'm going to give you some closing thoughts before we get, before we end this for this day. And I process how I want to approach the rest. I've watched this video over and over and over again. I'm angry as hell. I can't even imagine what this family's going through.
And I have the records from both medical facilities that show what her weight has been. I have the records that show what all of the recommendations have been.
Look at Heidi's demeanor right now. Look at those hands. The what she's communicating with her hands in this situation. This is a sign of resignation. Heidi probably doesn't even realize she's doing this. She's drawing into herself. She's got her hands clasped. This is a pleading of sorts. This is what you see in so many movies and whatnot, because it's body language. Body language communicates things. Heidi's like, I'm begging you, please don't. Like, the threat is already there. The threat is there. If you don't do what we say, if you don't do what we order you to do, and you've already proven that you don't follow directions, you don't follow recommendations, so you're dangerous people. Heidi's over here going, what more can we do? We love this baby. I love my granddaughter. I want my granddaughter to thrive. I want my granddaughter to do well. Kaylin is processing, and Caden, the dad, they're processing. And what they do to Caden throughout this situation, the things that they make him do, the hoops that they make him jump through, folks, this stuff is going to make you so mad you're going to lose it. But Heidi's in this position of resignation where she's just wordlessly pleading. You could see this. She's wordlessly pleading. She's clasping. She's like, this is a pleading gesture. Please, 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 please. I'm begging you, don't do this. Folks, government has all the power in every one of these situations. And God, I wish I had known Heidi before all of this played out. Because I would have told her, like, you never let him in the house. You don't let them in the house. They don't have the authority to come into the house. I would have told her, like, and if they do come in the house, you tell them to leave. And this is what Heidi ends up doing eventually. She's like, she's had it. And she tells them, get this woman out of my house. And we'll get there in the upcoming videos. But look at the way she's just pleading. Her gesture, she's pleading. These kids are like, what's going on here? Why are you here? What you're talking about taking our baby away? Because the threat's already out there. The threat is there. The threat is there. We're going to take your kid away from you. We're going to take your baby away from you. We're going to give your baby to somebody else unless you do what we say. And people want to criticize me for criticizing government. Get bent. Go to hell.
What your guys' responses to those have been, how the interactions have gone. Heidi, your interactions with them don't help. You have to learn how to talk to people.
Because they don't listen to Kaylin. They don't listen to.
Did you hear that?
To those have been, how the interactions have gone.
She's blaming Heidi. She's blaming Grandma. You haven't helped us at all. This is all your fault, lady. Listen here, woman. You're to blame for this. No, the system's to blame for this. You.
Heidi, your interactions with them don't help. You have to learn how to talk to people.
Because they don't listen to Kaylin.
The irony of this bitch telling Heidi that she needs to learn how to talk to people. Woman, if you talk to me like that, I would have looked at the cop and I said, I want her trespassed from my house right now. And if she comes back in, I will have her arrested. The restraint that Heidi shows here right now is it's actually it's a miracle. It's a miracle that she shows the amount of restraint just now. You talk to me like this in my front yard, and woman, you were going to get such a dressing down. You were going to wish that you would have gone to work at Quick Trip or some other convenience store and not ever deign to put yourself in a position of any kind of perceived superiority. You bitch. How dare you blame this grandmother who clearly cares about her grandchild for this happening? No, this is happening because the system is corrupt and it targets people who cannot defend themselves.
They don't listen to any of us.
Heidi, you don't talk to people respectfully. And you have to learn that that is impactful.
So if you don't treat doctors with due respect, we're going to punish you. That's what she just said. That's what she's implying. If you don't treat doctors with the respect that doctors want, we're going to treat you the way you deserve to be treated. We are going to punish you. Listen to that.
You have to learn how to
Because
talk
they
to people
don't
respectfully.
listen to Kaylin. They don't listen to any of us.
Heidi, you don't talk to people respectfully. And you have to learn that that is impactful.
Heidi, you don't talk to people respectfully, and you have to learn that that's impactful. Well, I got news for you, Audrey. You don't treat people with respect, and you have to learn that that's impactful. We're going to play this out for just a couple more, and then I'm going to do some closing.
And that is creating problems here. And until you learn that, it's going to continue to create problems.
Because Kayla doesn't say anything. And
Then
they don't listen.
go and let her go and let her do the talking. But you're doing this to me.
But you need to listen. She doesn't
I
say
need to be able to talk to her, and you need to stop. I've asked you 3 times to stop.
Who are you to tell her to stop in her own house? She's a mama bear watching out for her kid and for her baby, her kid's baby. And look at this aggressive posture that she's taking. This is a sign of aggression right here. She stepped forward. She's got this arm outstretched. She's giving orders and she expects to be obeyed.
This is my house.
Okay.
I've asked you twice to go for it.
Then we'll take the baby.
Did you hear that? Then we'll take the baby. And we're going to close with that. We're going to go back and we're going to listen. Watch this aggressive posture and then listen to the threat. Do what we say or we're taking the baby.
You need to stop. I've asked you 3 times to stop.
This is my house.
Okay.
I've asked you twice to go for it.
Then we'll take the baby. So either stop and let me talk to them and explain.
Do you have a warrant?
No, but we have the ability to take the baby. And we have a doctor who wants to call and
Did you hear that? You shut up in your own home or we're taking the baby and it's going to be all your fault. All your fault. Folks, I don't ask this very often, but I'm pleading with you to help me make this introductory video go viral. I'm asking you to help me make this go viral. This family has court dates coming up, and we need as much pressure as possible put on the Winona County courts, family court system. We need as much pressure as possible put on Winona County Social Services. We need as much pressure as possible put on St. Charles PD. Heidi is very clear. You don't have a warrant. She asked again, do you have a warrant? And she says, no, we don't have a warrant. We have a doctor that's given us permission. Your doctor can't give you permission to do shit, you 2-bit hack. Sorry, I'm losing my temper. I have had numerous conversations with Heidi, with Grandma. She knows where I stand. We've got Pam. You guys, she's been watching Pam from the Justice for Pam series that I did. Like I'm a no BS person. I don't pull punches. I tell people, look, this is where you screwed up. This is what you did wrong. And even if you do things wrong in these interactions, that still doesn't justify when law enforcement or other government employees abuse their power and their authority. It doesn't justify it. It's like the people who get arrested for telling cops to F off on the street. It's not illegal. It's constitutionally protected. Supreme Court has ruled you can tell a cop to F off. You can tell a cop to go take a flying leap at a rolling O. You can tell a cop to go screw a Q. It doesn't matter what you tell a cop. It doesn't matter what you tell a public employee servant. Is it could it be rude? Sure, but rude's not illegal, and it's even more so constitutionally protected. It's even more so part of those natural rights that we have to express our discontent with government. I need your guys' help to make this go viral, because I need people to be interested in watching this and get involved. I need to be able to get this into the hands of bigger channels. And if they call me or they message me, if you know somebody who's interested, mbrrmedia@yahoo.com. I need other channels, bigger channels than mine. I need people who are willing to take the heat and take the fire. I need your help to help this family. I don't have the money. I can't help them. All I can do is show you the videos. I can show you the videos. I can do my breakdowns. I can show you where they're wrong. I can show you how the cops screw up. I can show you how the social workers screw up, but I cannot do it all on my own. We need your help. This family needs your help. I've met him once, briefly, in passing. Just once. I don't know if they consider me a friend or not. And that's not as important to me as whether or not they see that I give a damn. This shit's got to stop. If we don't stop this, I told Pam, and many of you know this, I can't get justice for Pam. I want justice for Pam, #justice for Pam, but I can't get justice for Pam. The damage is done. Wabasha County and the Plainview Police Department ruined Pam's prospects for justice. I don't want that to be the case. Especially for Caden and Kaylin, mom and dad. I don't want that to be the case for them. I don't want that to happen. I want them to find justice in this. I want them to be able to get Hayven back home. But more than anything else, I want them to be able to help other people, not have to deal with this. And we've got people in the chat right now, Sarah Davis, saying, look, this is like this Audrey chick. She's the worst of the worst. People have been abused. They have suffered because of Audrey. I need your help to finally wake people up and realize that law enforcement is never on your side and government employees are not on your side. The only people that are on your side are other people who have been awakened to the corruption that is government and are willing to fight. I can't fight this fight for them. I can shed light on the fight. And I can be brutally honest. even if it pisses off the people whose stories I'm covering. I've pissed off Pam a few times. Ask her. Well, Pam would say she understands who I am, but I know I've pissed her off. You know, I open this up, and that's kind of my plea of folks. If you like what I do, subscribe to the channel. If you like what I do, consider channel memberships, because it helps me, because I want to be able to continue to cover these stories. But I don't do what I do, one, to be popular, and I don't do what I do to make money. And people have accused me of that. You only do what you do because of, you want to make money. I don't. If they demonetize my channel tomorrow, I'm going to still do what I'm doing. Please, I'm pleading with you. Help me tell this story. We're going to listen to the last 30 seconds of this, and then I'm going to end this. So until, next time, no matter what the next video is, fight for your freedom. It is yours. Fight for your liberty. It belongs to you. And Sic Semper. Tyrannis.
Because Kayla doesn't say anything, and
Then
they don't listen.
Don't go and let her go and let her do the talking. But you're doing this to me.
But you need to listen. She doesn't
I
say
need to be
anything.
able to talk to her, and you need to stop. I've asked you 3 times to stop.
This is my house.
Okay.
I've asked you twice to get over
Then
it.
we'll take the baby. So either stop and let me talk to them and explain. No, but we have the ability to take the baby. And we have a doctor who wants to call and explain to the parents.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.